Good morning, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak again. This is my third Procurious gig. Last night, I did my second SEMA gig for the Chartered Accountants Professionals. And I guess I kind of was a bit insulting last time I spoke. I was in Zurich, and I said that, I said doctors save one person's life, but people in procurement, we have the opportunity to save thousands of lives, through our supply chain. We can also condemn thousands of people to slavery. We know that in procurement, like the iPhone, people commit suicide making the iPhone. So we have a huge and heavy responsibility. And I was saying that, and I said, and I believe it, that one day in the future, although now it's very hard to imagine someone saying, Mummy, well, I want to be a chief procurement officer. I can imagine them saying, I would like to be in procurement because I want to be an instrument for good for the world. But that, interestingly, isn't how I got invited to this gig. So the email I got was, you upset a lot of people by saying that procurement officers are the same level as accountants and actuaries. And actually, I lied. Because accountants sit on boards, don't they? Okay? They are chief executive of companies. They are chairs of companies, on listed companies. How many procurement officers sit on boards? It's very few. I personally know no one in procurement who's ended up as a CEO or a chair. My experience is limited. So the question then is, why is that? So I've thought to myself, is it because we don't have enough strategic intent? If you become a doctor, you have a Hippocratic oath. You can't imagine someone going to a doctor and saying, listen, just this afternoon, ignore this, forget this, switch this off, and 3 people might die, but don't worry about it because, hey, forget your oath. It's intrinsic to what they believe. Even in accountancy, even in banking, they at least pretend to have ethical. It's in their charter. Ethics is the first thing in SEMA's charter. That they go, we have money laundering regulations now, we self-regulate, we have KYC, know your customer, we have anti-terrorism, we don't want to intentionally do something wrong in society. And at least it's lip service, even of course they are instruments of also bad sometimes. Now you think that, I thought, well, maybe, the professional bodies in procurement don't have this charter. They don't have anything for good. Actually, I was wrong. So SIPs, the very first clause in the charter is, it's got to be for public benefit. For public benefit. Now, how many of you guys will consider public benefit in the first 10 items of your strategic intent, of what you think you're there for? A traffic warden has public benefit, right? And they're not chartered, and they aren't a profession. So what is it we can do? I wondered, why is it that we are finding it difficult as professionals in procurement? And I think, personally, it's because people who come into the sector are very process-driven. It's not vision-driven. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a huge lack of instruments to help us do our job. And so why do I love blockchain? Is because it's an instrument ideally positioned for procurement, which delivers good. And I want procurement to adopt it, and what I'll give you a kind of challenge at the end, and we'll see what happens. So blockchain delivers 4 kinds of major innovations in procurement. The first is, it's actually very simple. It's a decentralized system, it's a peer-to-peer, so it takes out middlemen, all right? So that means you can take out whole costs and speed of transactions in between. So who in logistics wouldn't want that? So that's great. The second thing about blockchain is it's very transparent. You can have transparency from alpha to omega. In the financial transparency of a product, for example, or a process, you have it starts low and people keep adding value to that product. It gets to a peak, a Louis Vuitton handbag, you add the badge on, it goes up, then it goes down, and then it's landfill. It's like this. The non-financial value is actually fluctuates. You know, it was a crocodile one day, then it got killed early on. It was in 2 years. Few people died making it because they fall in the vat. And then it fluctuates like this. And there's a non-financial value. And these non-financial values are actually driving the intent now for our society. When we make decisions in procurement, even our individual lives, we buy on the basis, I love this. This makes me empowered. I drive that because it makes me feel great. We don't go, well, it's that cost, that's why I drive it. So it's these are the important things that also, if you have listed companies, will drive your price nowadays. You know, but of course, if you went to your CEO or chair and you went, actually, you know, just like Hippocratic Oath, I can't do this because it's going to kill 7 people. They'll go, well, there's a door. If you go and say, I can't do this because it's wrong for the public good, now some of you may lose your job because of that. Okay, so be it. But I need everyone to grasp this and some people to come through with this vision and say, I believe for public good is what we're here for. And at least it should be in the top 5 of your agenda. And you should challenge the CEO and say, if we do this, your share price will drop when they find out 30 people died making this product for us. Do you understand what you're doing? You must challenge them. And yes, you may lose your job. And some of you will, and hopefully most of you won't. But we need those pioneers, okay? So the second thing is that transparency blockchain brings. Blockchain so allows that transparency to actually put all that financial value and non-financial value on the public ledger. So everyone can see. So when I'm at the point of buying in the supermarket, I can see calories, I can see carbohydrates. I want to know how many people died making my leather seat in my Aston Martin, right? It doesn't feel very good if I know 4 people died making it and I'm sitting in it. So these things, it gives transparency of our supply chains. And it is bad news, I think, that it needed, you know, all these other professions have self-regulation, but we needed the law in this country to change to bring Modern Slavery Act 2015. We provided the metrics for that with Theresa May, as it happens, before she became Prime Minister. And before that, we did it for the Social Value Act, 2012. So it brings transparency. The third thing is it allows you, blockchain allows you to align the values of your organization to your supply chain. And people often go, what? How can you do that? So I'll give you a little quick experiment. I go, sir, I love your jacket. I'll pay you $100,000 for it. And you go, oh, here it is. I pay you in KKK coins, Ku Klux Klan coins. You don't need to know about cryptocurrency, do you? You get it. You go, actually, not really, thank you. Even if I was to take it, I'm not a member of the KKK community. I can't spend that money, so why would I? So money and the way you pay your suppliers has values. So if you have your company's token, for example, and you pay 3%, 5%, 2%, 0.5% of your supply chain in your token, which they can transact, of course, they can go and get real cash. But for them, they cannot, the way cryptocurrencies work is there are instruments in there, they cannot use it against the strategic intent of your organization. So you understand what women's coin does, doesn't it? You understand what KKK coin does. So you can start rewarding your staff and your supply chains and convey the alignment to your organizational strategic intent. And the fourth thing, perhaps the most important and mundane but most important part that blockchain provides is actually it allows you to encode everything I've just said into IT, into software. It's something called smart contracts, which means if that, do this. I know there's a great kind of fear amongst procurement that AI will completely knock you all out, you know, and because, I mean, how complex is it? You know, this is higher than price and this, and et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is, you know, we are looking forward to a world where your values will drive these things, and you want to empower everything I've just said. You want to encode it so that you say when a supplier bids in a tender document, you say, well, it's got to achieve that much on price, like the Social Value Act, that much on value, quality, but that much on social value. The target that we try to achieve throughout Europe is 20% on social value. That's a lot. That is a lot. You know, our biggest contract was 1% 1.5 billion on 5,000 social housing. They had to deliver 300 million pounds of social housing, of social value. Otherwise, they wouldn't get the contract. That's a lot. So we often end up in court because every CEO hates your guts that they didn't get the contract. And they do love those children and trees because their lawyers just told you so. So it allows you to code it and once you've coded it, it's within your IT system for your procurement system. So blockchain has these great advantages that empowers the sector. And there is no, it allows you guys to move away from the boring process of making judgments, but encoding what you like to do. And when the chief executive says, why this, you go, the computer says no, or the computer says yes to this supplier. And we monitor our suppliers. And they achieve our strategic intent, not how I feel about it. It takes out that, and it allows you to move on the big stuff. It frees you up because you guys, we should be on the boards of companies. We should be leading companies. And people, I said to my banking friend, she is a big shot in banking, and our CEO, big shot in Barclays. And I said, procurement, she said, is it a profession? Oh, wow. Wow. Shocking. Is it a profession? Wow. I think it's a profession. I think you're professionals, but we need to respond. So, I don't want to hear after this presentation, really, that actually no one contacts me. Don't contact me, but do it. Someone take up the mantle. At least a small percentage should say, I want to be the leader in the sector that delivers a direction to this profession out there. I want to be, and I might lose my job, but I am going to do it for myself, for my children, for society. And you will gather momentum. We had a vision ourselves, which blockchain, I had never heard of blockchain up to 2016, as you can tell. Right? I was happily retired and buying churches, a farm like this, doing them up myself, and I love them. I love it. But we were measuring value, non-financial value. We measured love and hope and happiness, and I love you, £4.50. It always goes down very well with your partner, I found. So we were delivering all this, but my colleague, the CEO, said, Olinga, look, reality is, okay, you accumulated lots of money for your not-for-profit center, and we got 125,000 members and 250 staff and 400 journal editors and so on. So, but we're not changing the world because you're not transacting. If you don't transact, you're not in the game. It's like me feeling love, but not conveying it to anyone, not saying it. So we went to look for digital routes to convey love. And the vision that we had that we now enable blockchain actually is in procurement. So we had the vision that I want to do something good, volunteering. I get credited, boop, on my mobile phone. I then go down to Starbucks. I say, how much? And they go $10 for the coffee. And I go, here's $8 of cash, $2 of my social credit. Bing. They value my customer, my volunteering. I then down go Google Street. I go, I'll shop here, not here, because this company treats everyone badly and they got bad reputation. These guys are great. They are conducive to healthy environments, etc. I will buy this milk, not this. This is made by happy cows in a happy field by happy children, and this is made through modern slavery. It won't taste so nice, okay? I wanted a transaction based on my values through absolute procurement, because in our personal lives, we make those decisions based on our personal wishes and our hopes and what it makes us feel. And blockchain has allowed us to bring that 100% into reality. We went from being an ugly duckling of social innovation, because we were bringing all these terrible tools in to become a beautiful swan in the procurement industry. And so I think, it is considered to be the fourth industrial revolution. I believe it can empower you. It can allow you to move up in that value in your organization. I think it's, the question is, do we deserve to be on a board? All right? Not if we're just process driven. Okay? We don't deserve it. I hate to say this, but I believe it's a mantle that everyone can get, is within our grasp. And what I'd like you to do, please, just 1% of you, 0.5% of you, to go, actually, there's a gap here in the market. We should bring some leadership. What about our you're a fellow of SIPs. Why don't they step up and go, actually, it's our first thing, public good. It's our first thing. Why don't we start us self-regulate and say we are here for the public good? So, why aren't we like actuaries? Why aren't we like accountants? That is not the discussion, is it? They don't have the opportunity you have. They can't control billions of pounds of spend. They can't change people's lives right throughout in other countries by one little move. Take 2% off your supply chain, you kill people. Don't ever doubt you're not, right? And I remember when I said this in Zurich, the reaction was interesting. The guy on the left laughed and he went like this, it was comical. But the guy over in the corner, I thought he was going to cry. He did not want to hear that responsibility. And everyone in the room, there's only 15 there, started looking up, down, through the window, anywhere but at me. This is not the gig we signed up to when we came to procurement, right? To save lives and to take on this burden and responsibility. But let's do it, honestly. I think you can do it. I'm a bit of a hypocrite. I made a shed load of money in my life, and then events overtook my life for my children, and I can now afford to wake up and to see what I was doing wrong and what I'm doing right. It's too late for me. I'm an old guy. It's not going to make a difference to me. But for this generation and for you, it's going to make all the difference. So please grasp this opportunity. Thank you very much.
There's going to be plenty of questions there, haven't there? And yes, whilst I'm a fellow of SIPS, I'm not here to represent them. But one thing I didn't mention earlier is that I'm an ambassador for procurement at the Institute of Directors. And when they asked me to be an ambassador for the IOD, and they asked me which portfolio I wanted to be an ambassador of, I said, well, it's got to be procurement, doesn't it? They said, what's that? It's a bit narrow, isn't it? So that took a bit of persuading. But yeah, so I'm proud to be the first IOD ambassador for procurement. And I'm going to try and fight for the procurement cause from inside that old institution. Questions?
Thank you. That was really good. What do you think is the best case study out there at the moment for people using blockchain for social good?
Okay, the honest answer, terrible I have to say this, is that blockchain has not proven itself. The only actual product that blockchain has proven is called Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a product that's made from blockchain technology. And it's the only usage, nothing else. So right now we're in those days when everyone believes it's the way of the future, but the Googles and the Facebooks, the big case studies that have worked and proven themselves have not happened anywhere. Some minor stuff, really low levels, non-scalable, and not sustainable stuff. So I can't honestly tell you, but there is no evidence, is what I'm saying. From my personal view, I honestly feel that the new currency of the world is its non-financial value. And what is the currency of financial value is the dollar. What's the currency of non-financial value? What is that? What is that? How can we capture that to drive all our systems? And that, when you can say at the point of sale, I am this product, oh no, I'm not going to buy this because it's not just good for my health, it's also because I don't want to harm someone, then you have made a major step forward against your competitors. And that area, so we started in a very boring area of measurement of that stuff. And what we do is we digitize non-financial value, we turn sentiment into financial value, because finance is the only thing people understand, and then we do it through fast data in milliseconds. Now, and people often say, is it right or wrong? And we go, it doesn't matter, it's consistent. In marketing, there's something called NPS, Net Promoter Score, okay? It's a single number. Every CEO, every major company, including myself, we would sit there, we don't even understand what it meant. All it was is a question which says, would you recommend me, would you not recommend me, would you stay neutral, more or less? And Bain & Co. made a massive career out of this. Now, every board guy goes, and it goes around like this on the board. You know, you go, okay, finance, what? Oh, we made 800 million this quarter. Great. Okay, terrific. Marketing, MPS is 18. Why 18? It should be 8 and 23. They're 23. We should be 23, etc. CSR is the last person they pick because they have to sit. And even they sit on the board. I mean, forgive me. Even someone with corporate social responsibility, right, sits on the board. And they go, what have you done? I go, well, I helped the granny cross the road. I go, fantastic. I'm not really that interested. Right? But they made it on the board because they are considered to be strategic for the, they cannot be reporting to the toilet janitor any longer. So procurement needs to be on that basis that we represent a massive change in society and your share price. So the examples I would choose are to do with non-financial value, where you say we can capture in our supply chain what we're doing that is enriching lives, not suppressing people, and we can convey it to the punter at the end point of sale. And then you will see it, the money in the till. Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Olinga. Great presentation, thank you. I guess just building on that last comment, you mentioned that blockchain hasn't really taken off yet, right? And there's no real case studies in the world. What are the biggest constraints other than the one you just mentioned, such as being able to articulate the value? What's stopping this from going live, and when will the tipping point come?
Okay, so I think, as you will know, first of all, cryptocurrency caught everyone's imagination, you know, including ours. We did the first financial FCA supported ICO in the UK, in fact, the only one ever. And that was in 2017, and people were shocked by the amount of people's imagination was capturing because people were putting billions into this. EOS raised 4 billion, Tezos 253 million in 45 minutes and stuff like this. But what's happened in the last year, in 2018, the crypto market collapsed. Not a bad thing, I have to tell you, because 95% of these things are scams, 20% of money is hacked. Right, so it's a very dangerous area to be in. And the big companies started coming in, putting their foot in through blockchain and saying, we want to be in blockchain. Big companies. And now I don't think there can be any large company who's not in the sector, but in a small way right now. So the MasterCards, all these guys are now in. Countries are now, I sit on the APPG, the All-Parliamentary Commission here, et cetera, et cetera. All governments are now in. The biggest blockage, however, is how governments are responding on regulation. So in Buenos Aires in November, the G20 said they are going to regulate cryptocurrencies, which as far as politicians are concerned, is the same as blockchain. I mean, they have no difference to them. And over-regulation can suppress enthusiasm. Blockchain, you know, what's the point of just making it look like money? Might as well use money. Why use another instrument? But what's going to happen in the next 5 years is that the large corporates, the family offices, the governments, the institutional world, impact investing are now going to start using blockchain as a real tool. And I would say to you, almost everything you see in the sector now will not exist in 5 years, and there will be new instruments in 5 years' time, and the Google version of that world and the Facebook version of that world will come. And that will last another 20 years, and that will then be surpassed by something else. So I think the danger right now is over-regulation. You know, it's actually quite, people are confused. There's not enough educational material out there, and not enough people see the great benefits. And usually they think of it as just money or crypto or something like this. Actually, the big benefits, procurement is a really clear case, honestly, but it's a long tail. You know, smart shopping, smart cities, it's a long, long tail. Next. Or none.
Good value. Social value, particularly in a public sector context, good thing, not against it. However, if we're going to give it 20% of the marks when we're choosing suppliers, we have to be careful about a few things. One is being able to measure and compare, which I think you talked about, which is great. Two more, we've got to be able to make sure that suppliers actually deliver what they tell us they're going to. And I've seen that not happening in a few cases. So it's very easy for people to promise all sorts of things in bids, and then it just gets forgotten about. And I'm also slightly worried that it becomes another barrier to entry for smaller firms. We talked about SMEs this morning already. That you can be sure that the IBMs and Capitals and Carillions, if they're still around, will have a social value bid expert who knows just what to put into bids and how to score the maximum marks. Whereas as little startup Smith Enterprises, it's one person sitting at their laptop doing that. So we've got just a note of caution on some of the public.
100% everything you said is correct. And I say to you, we're the largest supplier of metrics for social value act in this country, and also only for public sector, you understand. Also, in India, they have a law called the 2% CSR law, where gross profits, Indonesia have the same, Mauritius have the same. 2% of your gross profits which is spent on impact, so we provide metrics for them. And the 5 different industries in the EU, leather, textiles, etc., cities. And the secrets are, it's not, you have to be consistent, so you can be consistently wrong, but it's consistent. So when people say, is your metric right? But we're consistently wrong. So when we go to court and we go, why did you give the contract to them? And we go, well, it's not because I love them or hate them, it's just what the numbers say. And whatever we did it the same way every time, etc. The second thing is cost, you're right. Because, because we digitized it and it's milliseconds, about £5 only per point, it went from, I want a social value at report to minimum £5,000, some of them £150,000 KPMG. And you go, what? How can a company, SME, deal with that? So it's got to be something which is so liquid, like £5 per point, to measure and then monitor is at £5 a month. Otherwise, it becomes prohibitive. And you're right. And it's certainly not at all perfect. We've tried many things, in government especially. We tried social investment bonds, SIB, all kinds of instruments to change the world, The main reason for these things is big society, as we know, was not a success. But the main reasons is to move value. As recession hit after 2008, we were looking for instruments to take public value that they can't afford any longer from the private sector, deliver it through NGOs to third sector civil society. It's a blended model. So it's very difficult to come up with these new blended models that attain all these things. But go for consistency, go for low price. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, just be consistent. And it's a start, and you can improve it all the time. But I have to be sad and tell you that often we go like this, and this is the truth. You go public sector, nothing in public sector is small, right? I mean, I think the smallest contract was dog warding we did once. But many of them are hundreds of millions and billions. And we go, this company is the worst price, it's worst social performer, worst quality, they get the contract. And you go, what? And our fees, which can be very substantial, 1 or 2% of the contract value. The public sector organization says, okay, we'll pay it then. And you go, you pay it, whereas for the company, it's a rounding error. 1% is a rounding error. Like in procurement of construction industry, the average rise after signing of a contract, post-contract price rise, is 19%. So you've just said, I'll build a bridge, 800 million, go, oh, by the way, yellow. And you go, oh, yellow, that's 10% more. What? Contract. So 1% is like nothing. They're nothing for them, all right? So it's not working perfectly, but it's a start. And I think blockchain brings further transparency to these things. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to give an example of where you can what you can learn from the public sector where we've used social value stuff. So I'm from Scotland where we've done a lot of stuff, and I think that it's for organisations it's about picking something that you're going to take action on rather than thinking you've got to do it all. So the example I would give you is about living wage. So one of the things the Scottish Government is very keen on is promoting the living wage. So decent level of income for people working in our suppliers and in the supply chain. And you can't oblige that legally, but we've got ways that we do it in our contracts. So pick that, and what that means is that we're doing business with suppliers that pay people a decent wage. So that's one thing to pick. Now, that hasn't put the price up. That hasn't meant, any of this sort of scaremongering around contract costs. But what that has meant is that, say, for instance, the people that provide the catering to the Scottish Government pay their workers in their catering establishments and providers a decent wage, and that means families have, got better standards of living. So it's something that you could think about in your contracts. Is not this whole, we're not there with blockchain yet, or we don't know where to start. But pick one thing that you could take action on, that you could include in all of your contracts, and that your board could sign up to, or your decision makers could sign up to, and then do it. And it doesn't put the price up, and it doesn't, it doesn't cause you too much hassle, but it does start to make a difference. So chunk
Absolutely.
it, pick something and do it.
Absolutely, and the recent episode last year, there was a couple of things that happened in America which was very germane to this. One was the NRA, National Rifle Association, which, as you know, has been giving 20% discounts to, they've been getting 20% discounts from all supplier, companies, airlines, and shops, and etc. all the time. It doesn't matter how many children died in school grounds. They were the love of everyone's life, in America. Something happened. It changed. Suddenly, these companies decided it wasn't their strategic alignment any longer, and they dropped them, and that's had a massive effect, So, or, Starbucks, as an example, Starbucks had problems with people of color, black people. They were throwing them out in the States of some of their retail stores by mistake. If you went and tried to pay with a black coin now, you might get 20% discount. With a KK coin this week, they won't do it because it's not the strategic intent any longer. So align your strategic intent with what you want to bring in for social value, through modern slavery, through blockchain. It's all to do with there isn't a bland thing called social value. It's whatever your intent is, make it transparent and say, this is what we believe in, this is what we post our values on. Thank you. Thank you very much.